here? Yeah, let's have a big round of applause, that's right. They've been to the North Pole, to the South Pole, through the Straits of Magellan, and Captain, I've got a question for you. How many times have you now circumnavigated? Twice! Even Magellan only did it once. So, once again, let's hear a big cheer for these fantastic sailors as they return to their ship, the Flying Pegasus. And now, we're going to take you to the most beautiful girls in the world, the lovely ladies of London. Now, these ladies are not only the most beautiful girls you've ever seen, but they have Great Britain's most perfect manners, as you will see in just a moment when they perform a curtsy. Are you ready, ladies? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Do you see what I mean, everyone? Don't you wish we all had manners like that? Thank you, ladies. You may return to the city of London with your hearts full of dreams. And now we're going to go to another very beautiful group of ladies. But these ladies all have tails. That's because they're the mermaids. And when the mermaids sway their arms back and forth like this, and when they wiggle their tails like this, when they sing the mysterious lover's luring song that you hear right now, it hypnotizes any sailors within hearing distance of their voice. And the sailors fall on their knees and beg the mermaids to marry them. And what do the mermaids usually say? We'll find out. But lads, if you're not ready to tie the knot yet, and you hear the mermaids singing, run the other way, or it'll be too late. Now, last but not least, let's meet the rascals of our story, the pirates. Come on out here, men. These are the pirates. Lift those swords up in the air, wiggle them over your heads, and let's hear a big arr. Well, we better help the pirates, everyone. Ready? 1, 2, 3, arr! Now, let me tell you about these guys. They're pretty lucky. They've got just about everything a man could want. They've got their own tropical island. They've got a house with an ocean view. When they need money, they reach into one of their buried treasure chests and pull out a fistful of gold. And when they're hungry, they just pick a pineapple right off of the tree. Not only that, but here's the funny thing. How many of you think these pirates are happy? Well, not very many of you, and you're right, the pirates are not happy. How could that be? Well, we're about to find out, because Captain Barnacle has just called an emergency pirate meeting, and all the pirates are huddling their heads together. And the captain said, well, lads, we got just about everything a man could want, right? And they all said, arr! Uh-oh, we better all say arr. Ready? Everyone said, arr! But there's one thing we haven't got, right, men? And they said, arr! And what's that one thing we haven't got? And all the pirates scratched their heads with their hands. They couldn't think of what it was. The captain said, well, I'll tell you what it is, men. We haven't got any ladies on our island here, and we're kind of lonely and we need friends. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a message in this here bottle, and the message says, wealthy noblemen of good repute, that's us, seeking lovely ladies to become their friends. We are the wealthiest men in the New World. We've got treasure buried all over in the bank, all over our island. And we've got a house with an ocean view, lots of pineapples, and even lobster. Come and join us in our happy lives. Opportunity of a lifetime, signed, Wealthy Noblemen. Now you all sign that note. And they all signed the note. Then they folded the letter up, rolled it up, put it in the bottle, and the captain walked over to the edge of the ocean and threw the bottle into the sea. As the bottle began to drift, the captain said, uh-oh, men, I just realized those ladies will be here soon, and we've got lots of dishes to do in the galley. We better go do the dishes. So they ran back to their galley to do the dishes. In the meanwhile, the bottle continued to float across the Atlantic, and 3 months later, at Southend-on-Sea near the city of London, these three lovely ladies were picking seashells in the sand. So one of the ladies saw something buried in the sand, and and walked over and saw that it was a bottle. She reached down and saw there was a note in the bottle and pulled it out and began to read. Wealthy noblemen of good repute seeking lovely ladies to become their friends. The ladies looked up at the sky and smiled. This was the adventure they'd been waiting for all their lives. They said, we must go and find those poor dear noblemen and make friends with them at once. How are we going to get there? Said one of the ladies. We can't swim that far. Follow me, said the littlest lady. I know where to go. And she started running towards the waterfront. They ran up Front Street. They ran down Broad Street, across Bridge Street. They came to the boardwalk. They ran up the boardwalk, found the loading dock, climbed up the gangplank, and stood before a tall six-masted schooner. They walked up to the door of the schooner, and the door opened, and out stepped two of the most handsome sailors you've ever seen. They were so handsome, the ladies almost fell over backwards. But they regained their composure, and the ladies performed the most elegant curtsy you've ever seen. And
Okay,
they said,
wait. You're gonna go up.
sailors, we seek passage to a place called Buccaneer
Get your
Isle,
hands out of your mouth.
latitude 76 west by 42 south. Can you take us there? The captain scratched his head and said, well, as a matter of fact, ladies, you're in luck. We're going right past there and we can drop you off. Let me conduct you to your quarters. So the ladies came aboard the ship, the Flying Pegasus, and of course they had to wave goodbye to all their friends and loved ones who they would probably never see again. And everyone waved goodbye in return, for soon they were drifting down the Thames River towards the sea. And of course, the sea was smooth at first, but then when they reached the center of the Atlantic Ocean, it happened. The worst storm in 42 years struck the Atlantic. Everyone began rocking back and forth treacherously. Then they started blowing to one end of the ship, then to the other. Then the winds picked up even more. Waves crashed into the ship. The mast snapped in two. Everyone was hurled overboard. Swim, shouted the captain. Swim for your lives. Everyone began swimming desperately. They did the doggy paddle, the breaststroke, the side stroke, the backstroke. They treaded water, but it was no use. They all started to drown. As they drifted to the bottom of the sea, they said one final prayer, and a miracle happened. Suddenly, a huge school of mermaids came swimming by and said, follow us! Now the mermaids were swimming really quickly, so mermaids, you better get going. Everyone started following the mermaids. The water became shallower. Then their heads popped out of the water. Everyone breathed a big gasp of air. And then the sailors and the ladies of London collapsed on the warm sand. And the mermaids began to head back to their lagoon, happy to have done a good deed for the day. But suddenly the mermaids stopped. And they said, wait a minute. And they walked back over to where they'd saved everyone. And they said, do you see what I see? Two of those people we just saved just happened to be shipwrecked sailors. And that's our specialty. Immediately the mermaids started swaying their arms back and forth and wiggling their tails and singing their mysterious lover's luring song. Immediately the sailors' eyes opened as wide as saucers. They stood up. Their hands went out in front of them like they were sleepwalking. And they started walking towards the mermaids, who wiggled their way back towards the lagoon, leaving the ladies of London alone on the beach, unprotected. And who do you think was looking through his spyglass just then? Captain Barnacle, of all people. And he said to his pirates,
Go
well,
ahead.
lads,
Go
it
ahead.
looks like our friends have arrived from the
Go
New
ahead.
World. But before we go and
ahead.
introduce ourselves, I says we ought to tie them up for a few days first with this here fish
Go ahead,
net.
Bri.
till they get used to us. So the pirates started sneaking quietly toward the ladies. And the ladies, well, they didn't see the pirates coming. And they were about to get the net thrown over their heads when suddenly out from the sea flew hundreds of flying fish. Now,